BJ, hey, I appreciate you coming out,
Yeah,
man.
man.
I just want to talk to you about insurance. With the storm and everything, we got a new roof on our house, and insurance coverage we had was like it was high. When I bought the house, we really didn't know the age of the roof. We bought the house in 2016, and we didn't have the seller's disclosure how old the roof was.
Sure.
So we received X amount of that we had to pay for our insurance premium. How does the age of a roof affect insurance premiums?
Yeah, great question, Lee. I think that we get this question a lot, especially at State Farm being the number one insurance provider, especially here in the area. People ask for us because we're local and they want to know, hey, this roof looks new, and it's a big expense. You're talking, a 1,200 square foot house. You're still looking at a $6,000 to $8,000 roof minimum. You talk about a house that's bigger with more roofs, it can get 20, 30, tens of thousands of dollars. So most roofers, and I would tell you consult with your local roofer, right? But most roofs are meant to be 30 years, okay? Well, we also live in the South, and it gets
Right.
a little hot down here.
It's
So
not-
I would say you're probably looking, if I'm budgeting to replace my roof, I'm going to budget to replace my roof about every 20 years. If I get more than that, great. But a lot of times, it's not so much the cost of the insurance sometimes, but the actual eligibility to even get insurance, because a lot of insurance companies know that's a huge expense. So if you come to me and your roof is 20 years old, technically there's only 10 years left, right?
Gotcha. Right.
So it's kind of like, would you buy a car that had 300,000 miles on it?
Right.
If you wanted it to last you a long time, that answer would be no. So sometimes the pricing may not be affected per se, more so is the eligibility.
Eligibility. Okay.
Correct. Does that make sense?
Yeah, sure. So some insurers will underwrite a 15-year-old roof, and some of them won't.
Correct.
Right. So eligibility. But as far as, like, let's say if I'm paying $2,000 annual premium, does it get any better with a new roof?
Yeah. So one of the things that are going to happen is when they're considering all the things that you updated, appliances, electrical, your roof, your plumbing, and those things, those are going to affect the rating of the premiums in some cases. Specifically when it comes to roof, there's two things that are kind of heard about in the insurance business. Replacement cost, which is, think about it like this, our clothes, if they burn up, the insurance company is not going to Goodwill to buy the clothes. They're going
Right.
to the store to buy it at full price.
Right.
So most insurance companies that are quality insurance companies, you're going to want replacement costs on the
Replacement
roofs,
value. Right.
not actual cash value, which is a depreciated amount. So think about if your roof initially cost you $20,000, but it's 20 years old, so 2/3 of the life is gone.
Right.
They're not going to give you replacement costs often.
Right.
They're going to give you a depreciated actual cash value. And a lot of insurance companies, they can be replacement cost on the house and actual cash value on the roof.
Okay.
Or
Okay.
even
Yeah,
sometimes
yeah.
have separate deductibles, especially when it comes to wind and hail. You could have separate deductibles, which you might want me to answer that question of how do I
yeah.
know when I get my roof replaced?
Absolutely, absolutely. Now, if I have if we have clients that are going to buy or sell a house, and negotiating, prices and things like that, what will be some advice for them?
Yeah, I think so. Roofs are always a big deal because aesthetically, even if functionally they're good, aesthetically they can be ugly, right?
Right,
They
sure,
could just be
right.
worn out.
One
I mean,
good ugly roof.
it could be. And I'm looking at all your neighbors, and like,
Right.
there's a lot of pretty new roofs
Yeah,
from
yeah.
the hurricane, right?
Right.
But I would tell you this: if you're a buyer going to buy a house, you can't necessarily request that they replace their roof using insurance because there's got to be an event that damaged the
That
roof
causes it,
that
right.
caused it, right? So a lot of times sellers will say, fine, I'll just use my insurance because they don't want to come out of pocket.
Right.
But let's say there is a claim. I've replaced one of my roofs on my own because I was able to financially bear that risk instead of transferring it to the insurance company.
Right.
So I took a higher deductible. Well, that kept my premium low because that's the risk that I took. But if you're a seller and you are thinking about using your insurance to replace your roof, that means you may save a little bit on the front end, but when you then have to go buy another house, your insurance premium is going to be higher because you filed a claim, and that's the way that it works. So
And
you're
if not,
rateable.
if not now, then later when the insurance claim hits, right?
When and it pops immediately.
Oh, it does? Okay.
Yeah.
Homeowners-
So it's not
okay.
when it's fixed. It's going to be when it's filed.
I got you.
And
okay.
so if I'm a seller, my advice would be try to take it out of your net proceeds,
Right.
like get an estimate at the end, take it out of your net proceeds and stroke them a check
Right.
to replace the roof, not just using insurance. Because when you go to qualify for that next home and you're seeing Lee to qualify for the mortgage,
Right.
and State Farm or another insurance company or whoever says, well, because you had this claim, your insurance premium was going to be $2,000. Now it's going to be $3,000 a year or $4,000 a year. Now Lee says you can't qualify for as much of a home
Right.
because your whole monthly payment
Right.
includes those taxes and
Right.
insurance.
And that's what we were talking about earlier, is just how, people are always shopping for the best rates. With us, we offer some pretty good rates, but also a big portion of that
Correct.
payment is escrow, and escrow is influenced by, again, homeowners insurance as well. So,
Absolutely.
finding good quality coverage, but the best coverage at the best price. So,
And I think too, Lee, just one last thing that I would add is just because a storm happens and you've got some granulars falling off of your
Right.
roof,
Right.
it doesn't mean your roof needs to be replaced.
Uh-huh.
It can be repaired, number one,
Uh-huh.
and it's also doing its job. I tell people, is your 10-year-old car still as nice as shiny as it was?
Right.
What doesn't mean that manufacturer of the car does a bad paint job.
Right.
You live in the South, roofs are designed to wear out. You and I both, I'll have a little humor joke. We got a little bit of white in our beards.
Oh.
Well, it's because we're not as young as I once was, right? And
Yeah.
so there's a
Yeah.
reason for that. So if our roofs aren't lasting, you get a shingle or two missing, it doesn't mean your roof's leaking. And just because your roof's leaking doesn't mean it's the whole thing. I will tell you this, a lot of roofs got replaced in the CSRA during Hurricane Helene. And so I think you're going to see that most people aren't going to have a roof that need to be replaced for a good little while.
sure. Yeah.
So
yeah.
that was a once in 100 year, maybe
I know,
200 year
right?
storm,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
So
yeah.
let's hope we don't have another one of those. So,
Amen. Amen. Well, BJ, I appreciate you
Absolutely,
coming
brother.
out to see me, man.
Sure thing.
BJ Jordan, State Farm. I'll put his contact information on here as well.
Absolutely.
Lee Hunt Mortgage Solutions. If y'all need great rates, great insurance, give us a call. Thank you.
Absolutely.